I'm on a stamp.
You're on a stamp?
In New Zealand. We're all on stamps.
Oh, my God, because of the Hobbit?
Yes, I thought of sending all my Christmas cards from New Zealand so people could see me, but I didn't get round to it.
Oh, what a show.
Very nice.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it?
Yes. Well, if you were on a stamp, you'd tell people about it.
Oh, I wouldn't stop licking it, though. Right, let's get hammered.
I have phrases when I drink and I don't drink.
Would you want to just...
Oh, no, none of that. What's that, darling? Have you got something...
Italian liqueur, we've got horning.
What's that?
I don't know. Is that
It looks rather nice, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's nice.
Why don't I try that?
Yeah. Do you want a pink lady?
No.
Didn't think you would.
Have you got a pink gentleman down? Well, I'll try that. I've never had advocat.
Well,
is that how you pronounce it?
Advocat.
Advocat. What are you drinking?
Oh, I'll have one with you, love.
All right, lovely.
Don't see you very often, do we? It's
No,
Christmas.
we don't.
Now, you don't like being called... What?
They're lovely people.
Oh, they're the lovely audience. Oh, naughty. You make me naughty, Sir Ian. Now, is this true?
Well, I tried it. Cheers.
Yes, cheers.
Happy Christmas.
Yeah, happy Christmas, love. See what you think.
I always like custard.
Really sickly custard. Custard that's past its sell-by date, probably. We've got to talk about The Hobbit.
Oh, yes, lovely.
We have to. For the viewers who only read Take a Break magazine, it's
Yes.
a prequel to The Lord of the Rings, isn't
Yes,
it?
it's what happens before The Lord of the Rings, and so my character, Gandalf the Grey, is back there looking after the hobbits.
Yeah.
And the dwarves, a lot of dwarves,
Oh,
13 dwarves.
I know. And there's so many dwarfs, you could get a grant or something. It was meant to be one film, but now it's free. Have you heard? You must have heard about this.
Yeah.
Do you think that's right? Because Neville at my Dungeons and Dragons club
Yes.
said it's all about the money.
Yes.
Well, he would say that because he's an orc.
Yes. Well, I don't know. It was going to be 2 films. We always knew that.
Yeah.
And then on the last day of shooting, Peter Jackson, the director, called a few of us in and said, look, I've got so much good material, I'd rather not cut it all out, expand it into 3. And Warner Brothers, who financed it, of course, were very pleased. And so would the fans, frankly. But it would be dreadful if Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit became a franchise, and they just went on rolling out the stories. I think this will be the end of it.
Yeah, but you're playing Gandalf again. In The Lord of the Rings, he was like Jesus. But in this, he's just a normal wizard, isn't he?
Yeah, oh, when you're thinking of Gandalf the White, yes, he looks very holy. He looks like the Pope, really.
Yes. But I was thinking, he ain't really got that many good powers, really.
He can
Talk to animals. I mean, Caesar Milan does that.
No, he doesn't. What he does is he's very good with fire. He can make fire out of nothing, really.
Yeah.
And he's very wise, because he's 7,000 years old, so he knows a thing or two.
Oh, right, yeah.
But I like him because he sort of boogies down with the hobbits and has a drink and a smoke, you know. Smoke? I mean, all the smoking.
I saw that. But what was in that? Because you give it to the Hobbit and he's a bit like off his face. Yeah. So what's in it, though? Is it like crack? Is it like wacky backing? Because he has it and then he's off like, ooh.
Well, it's a sort of thing you can only get in Middle-earth, yes. And,
I see.
It makes you feel very happy, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing? These kids' movies, and all the characters smoke, and they haven't stopped us doing it.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because you think, well, it wouldn't look Gandalf with like a Nicorette patch, would it? It wouldn't be the same. I'll just have me gum, wait there.
I wanted to see Gandalf off duty, you know. I wanted to see him getting up in the morning. You never see anybody wash, do you? In Middle-earth.
No.
Now, why is that? And no one ever has a pee. And I said to Peter Jackson, why can't we have a shot? Gandalf getting up in his pyjamas under the tree, putting the hat on,
scratching his arse,
exactly,
going,
combing his beard, and then relieving himself against some great New Zealand native tree. And imagine in 3D, it'd be great.
Yeah. So we've got a clip here. This is Gandalf, Bilbo, and the dwarves coming under attack in The Hobbit.
Isn't it? Manchester.
Yeah. Is it Northampton?
In the northeast.
Newcastle.
Yes, near there.
These films take years and years to make. How much persuading did you take to get the old robes on and get that giant twiglet out again?
Well, you know, they were so popular, and it's almost unique that when you're making these films, you know there are people wanting them to be made. You're not hoping, is it ever going to be released? What are the critics going to be like? Will anyone go? You know, millions of people want them to be made, and they don't want to see John Hurt or Mike Gambon play Gandalf, do they?
No.
They want the original.
Of course,
and
of
so
course,
do I.
my
So
love, of course.
Thank you very much. So really, that's why I went back. And I love New Zealand.
Yeah.
But it couldn't be further away from UK if it tried. That's the only trouble.
For years, you were mostly working in the theatre. How surprised are you to find yourself in these massive, amazing blockbusters?
I used to be rather snobbish about cinema and think that people who weren't working in the theatre weren't doing Shakespeare, weren't proper actors. Well, that's a load of rubbish, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that was because I wasn't getting any work in movies. And, and then suddenly, out of the blue... Oh, I made a film of Richard III, which was Shakespeare.
Yes,
And that was a sort of calling card, and people liked it in the film industry. And Brian Singer asked me to do Apt Pupil, which is a rather dark story, and then he put me into X-Men. And by the time I was in X-Men, and then I was suddenly in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
There we go.
Now, I've also heard that you're going to appear in a sitcom, Vicious Queens.
No, it's called Vicious Old Queen.
Vicious Old Queens,
And I said, I'm not old.
No.
Anyway, as with my old mate Derek Jacobi,
Yes.
who I've known for forever, and we play two gay guys who've been living together for 50 years, and they're in Soho, and the way they communicate really is by being absolutely horrible and beastly to each other. Which I don't quite like to do, because Derek's a sweetheart, you know, but we'll manage.
But you used to have a crush on him, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Oh.
I'm surprised you knew, because he never knew. And the funny thing, we were both 18 and 19 at the time, but it was at a time you didn't talk about being gay. Yeah. In fact, the word gay hadn't been invented. You were all queer in those days. You won't remember this. It was against the law. Well, I told him all this 30 years later, and he said, oh, Ian, I fancied you rotten. And we never knew.
Oh, my God.
And we'd have made a lovely couple.
Oh. We would. Can you imagine the children?
Yeah.
One thing before you go, I've got to ask you.
I've only just got here.
Oh, well, you can come back again, love. We'll have a chat. But you know, one thing I read in the papers about prostate cancer.
Oh, yeah.
What's that about?
Well, I've had it for about 8 years. It's no big deal. I mean, a lot of people in my age, men have got prostate cancer, and some of them die without ever knowing. The best thing is get it checked out.
Yeah.
If you get to sort of late 60s, I think that's the time to go and find out if you've got it. And if you've got it, it can be dealt with. It's the easiest cancer. It's not fatal if you get it, if you get it early enough, and I did. And I've never had any treatment, and I just get monitored once every 6 months. So I'm now doing publicity for The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And I come to my 150th personal interview talking about The Hobbit.
Yeah.
And in comes the Daily Mirror, very nice, chatty chap, and asks me how I am. And like a fool, I tell him, I said, well, I've got prostate cancer. I'm going to get hearing aids. I've got the cataracts. I've just had some implants done here, but I'm surviving.
Yeah.
Next day in the Daily Mirror, my battle with cancer.
Oh, no!
Phone calls from friends. How are you?
The head shoulders.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Never mind, you've had a good life. I said I've had it for 8 years and I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So no, people don't have to worry. I'm absolutely fine.
Thank God, yeah.
But at the end of all this, drawing attention to myself in a way I didn't particularly like, I get an email from the prostate cancer charity saying, thank you. Christmas has arrived for us because people are calling up and wanting to be tested, and we're always trying to get people to do that. So some good's come out of it, actually.
Well, at least you're all right. Don't be wishing well. Good luck with The Hobbit.
Thank you, sweetheart.
And have a wonderful Merry Christmas.
And to you, darling.
Sir Ian McKellen,